special edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and today is a great day because we have in the house, Dream Team is in the house, and none other than this smiling face that you see on the screen alongside of me is Miss Ebony Elmore. And when you think Ebony Elmore, you think the city of River Rouge, you think environmental justice, you think Southeast Michigan Jobs with Justice, and you most definitely think NAACP, Western Wayne County. And welcome to a very, very special edition of Truth to Power with me today, Miss Elmore.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Darwin, so much for having me. I appreciate this invite, and I'm happy to share what I know.
Well, you know so much. I mean, and not only do you know so much, but you are educating other people on what all you know,
Yes, I
as
am.
well. But first, before we get started, I just want to hear, just to let you tell our viewing audience, who is Ebony Elmore?
Yeah, so I got started as just doing early education. I really have a passion for children and making sure they are educated on their environment and what's going on around them. So that's what really grounds me and anchors me in this work, is making sure that they are knowledgeable. They know that they have a pathway to success, and they know that their quality of life, as though they see it right now, can be changed with just some support and help. Who I am is a village. I've always been.
You say you are the village.
I am a village.
Okay.
Yes, I am. I've been raised from a big family. My mom was a single mother. She's had 7 of us. I have 6 other siblings.
Give her a shout out. Give her a name.
Yes,
What's her
my
name?
mom's name is Janice Rogers. She's an amazing, amazing lifetime River Rouge resident. She is always going above and beyond for the community and giving out food to the community and making sure that children are going well kept, she calls it. She wants to make sure they're fed, clothed, and in good order, she always calls it. So a shout out to my mom for instilling that to us. I wouldn't be who I am and where I am today without Miss Janice Rogers.
And we can't be remiss if we don't give your son a shout out. Go ahead.
Yes, on top of that,
So we want to
I've
make sure
been
that when you go
blessed.
home, you can get a smile from him.
Yes,
Mom gave me a
God
shout out
has
too.
blessed me with a beautiful, thriving young man. His name is Zaire Gordon. He is a young adult, 18, turning into 19. He is in the process of navigating the world as we know it right now. He is inspiring to be a welder, and I am so proud of him to be choosing skills trades to be in the career path to move forward in. And he is a hardworking young man, and he always have his eye on his prize and his head stay focused.
And I'm gonna throw a hard question at you. You might not know. Is he gonna go into MIG or TIG welding?
You know what? I have no clue. As long as it brings me a welded house at the end, that's it.
Well, when you talk to him after the show, you can ask him, is it gonna be MIG or TIG welding?
I
And
will.
then that'll kind of, he'll look at mom and like, how'd you know about that, mom? And then
Okay.
we kind of smile and say, I know a lot, son. So, I know a little bit about welding at the same time.
I am always looking for cool points to score with my son. I had to drop the 6-7 act, and he don't like that, so I would definitely use that question to navigate our conversations this time.
To win a few cool points with your son there.
Mm-hmm.
and one thing I do want to tell, too, that I know the last time I saw your son was over there at a Freedom Fund dinner. that
Yes.
we had. So tell about that Freedom Fund dinner and an honor that was bestowed on you at the Freedom Fund dinner that Western Wayne County had.
Yeah, so I've been a member of Western Wayne County for about 3 years, and I've been doing it through the passion of volunteer service. Last year, I was awarded the Volunteer Service of the Year award through Western Wayne County branch, and it was a beautiful event because I do this not for recognition, but for the future of our children. So to be recognized for all the effort and the work that I put into giving back to my community really hit home to my heart, and it really made me feel seen and validated in that moment. And the fact that my son told me that it was well deserved and well overdue meant so much more to me than just the award, because he was able to see that all those sacrifices, all those long nights, all those times when he sees me on the computer and meetings are paying off, because what it's doing is changing the world around him. And that's what I want everyone to see, and everyone to know that they are a part of this and they can also do it as well.
And how did you feel? Tell me what was going on through your head that night, looking out there at your son, watching you go up on the stage to receive that award in front of the hundreds of people that was there at the Freedom Fund dinner.
Yeah, my heart was so full. I love it because my family is so large, and just having any part of my family to be where I'm at and to share my accomplishments is a huge feat. One thing about my son is he stays with his father, so we co-parent. We have a wonderful co-parenting relationship, whereas he knows when it's time to come up and show up for his mom. So that's what he did. He really stopped. He works and he goes to school and he has his own responsibilities at his father's home. So to be able to navigate and arrange himself to be there for me really touched my heart, and I'm just so proud of him. I was more proud to show him off to the hundreds of people than to win the award, because this wouldn't be done without his sacrifice of allowing me to be myself and to really walk into my truth and be that powerful mother that he always knew he had. So it really meant a lot for me. And also see my sister. I have a sister that lives in Ohio, and she doesn't really come around much or get to see in these experiences that I do so many times. So it was really beautiful to see her and my mom and my son, and then also the people in the environmental justice world that I come from really show up for me, as well as my community. And of course the dream team, like just seeing the dream team out there, knowing where we started, remembering where I came from 3-4 years ago when I got here up until now, really touched me. I was very moved. The president really had to like calm me down and remind me, don't cry, because your moment is well deserved. But I was just very, very grateful.
Well, you touched upon a subject that I know a lot of our viewers may be going through as well, but you talk about co-parenting. Mm-hmm. And talk a little bit about, Ebony, about the value of co-parenting.
I feel like the value of co-parenting is not with the individual parents, but in the results of the child. The child does not say who and who's not the parent at any time, and it's for us to come together and to really lean on God. It's an act of faith. I chose to lean on God and my faith when it came to co-parenting, because it's not about me, it's not about his father, it's really about my son. And my son had the autonomy to choose where he wanted to live, and to choose to still navigate that choice and still show up for his other parent. And a lot of parents don't really look at co-parenting through the eyes of their child, but through the eyes of themselves. And I chose to lean into my faith and really look through the eyes of my child, and it really worked out the best for him. And it really strengthened our relationship. I don't never feel like I was doing anything wrong. It took me a while to get over that guilt, because initially I thought I was doing something wrong. Because growing up, like I have a single mom. I'm always seeing children with their moms. I come from a large family, so my siblings as moms are always with their children, I felt guilty. I felt judged within myself that it was something that I wasn't doing right. And it wasn't until I talked to like the men in my life where I understood I was doing the right thing, not something wrong. I was actually doing it right, and it was going to benefit my son, because at the end of the day, it's nothing. A woman can only teach a man so far, but you can't teach a man how to be a man. And it comes a certain point in time when that father is going to feel something within himself and come to you and tell you, like, I want to spend more time with my children. I want to be there for my children. And I am here to really advocate for that and to give that rallying cry for women to take that leap and lean into your faith if there is an opportunity for you to co-parent with that father, to do so. And to really be faithful that what you're doing is the right thing for your child and not just for you.
So what would you say, Ebony, if your son gave one word to describe his mother? What would he say?
My son always called me Queen.
Queen?
Yes.
Okay.
He always calls me Queen. I am like a superstar in his eyes. I'm like a superhero. He don't think it's nothing I cannot do. And I feel that. And on times that I don't feel that, I always gravitate to his words. I am a encouraging and a cheerleader type parent. So the things that I pour into him, he also pour into me.
So it's a reciprocity between you and him.
It
with
is.
That part. So what would your mother, what would your mother say to describe you as a person?
My mom is very proud of me. One word she would describe me is, she says I have a lifestyle now.
A lifestyle?
A lifestyle now.
Okay.
So she's saying that I'm receiving the blessings that I've worked for. And it's creating a lifestyle for me that you could see. Like, I don't have to really tell people where I'm at now. She said it's written all over my face.
So it's like that branding that we talk about with companies, where I think our president of Western Wayne County, Gina Wilson Stewart, was saying about Western Wayne County should be branded so that when people see Ebony Elmore, they'll automatically think Western Wayne County NAACP. You don't have to wear that NAACP on your lapel. They'll see you and automatically know she's Western Wayne County. And that makes a big difference. Or the same thing, just like when you were growing up. That's Janice's child. They didn't have to add. You may not even have a name.
I did not have a name. I have her face.
And that's where it boils down to.
It's so many times that I'm Janice Rogers. And
That's
I'm
what
like,
I'm saying.
Yep, we're doing okay. Now I just
There you
take
go.
on her sometimes.
You want Janice's siblings and that kind of thing. But let's talk a little bit about, because I know we want to kind of get into a little bit more about with what you're doing with a watch party that NAACP is having the end of this month. Talk about that.
Yeah, so the NAACP hosts an yearly Image Awards. It takes place on national television, and this year they are calling for units to host watch parties. So I'm actively scrolling.
And the units are the branches.
Yep, so the unit is a branch, and a lot of folks usually hear branches, but internally we are units, and we are under our state. So state of Michigan, President Yvonne White is our president, and then if you go right up under the state, it's branches or units. So we represent the Western Wayne County, which our president under our unit or branch is President Gina Wilson Stewart. So
3141B.
3141B, you know. And
see, we'd be remiss if we forgot that number when we have to put it on so much. Okay.
Yep. So I've been actively using our number since I've been organizing and planning a watch party. I couldn't do it without the planning committee that has been helping me. We are hosting a watch party on Saturday, February the 28th. Our doors will open at 6:30. The show starts at 8. From 6:30 to 8, we will be hosting like some trivia so you can get to know more about the NAACP, some more national trivia as well, some local trivia. We're going to be giving out some raffles. We have a open call for membership. We're going to be doing a membership drive. So even if you are not in our particular branch, you can still come. You can join us, and we'll have the state secretary, Ms. Ruby Richards, there to check in on your membership.
Another dream team.
Yeah, and she's another dream teamer. We will have refreshments as well as dinners. We have non-alcoholic cocktails. We will also have a announcement from our Environment and Climate Justice Committee. We are going to announce our 2026 agenda for this year. With the administration and things going on both federally and state, we wanted to just break it down on a local level and to show how we can be advocates and how we can sustain our civil rights and our human rights on a local level.
Well, I remember when I sometimes have to pride stuff out of Ebony to say things,
Yes.
and now Ebony is so eloquent and so, so articulate when it comes down to, how you express what's going on. But now tell the location and give the information so that if people want to go and be involved with our watch party, is there a cost to attend the watch party?
Yeah, so there is a cost. The cost is going to be a $25 donation. Those proceeds are not going in our pocket. We're actually giving them back into the community. In September, we're going to be joining the city of River Rouge for their Rouge Days and walking their park and their parade to their local memorial park, where we will be giving out backpacks. So those proceeds that you're giving and those tickets are going to that backpack giveaway. And you can join us. Our tickets are online live as of today at Eventbrite. It's going to be taking place at Operation Refuge. That's in Inkster. That is one of our service counties as well. The address there is 27807 Carlisle Street in Inkster, Michigan. The zip code is 8141.
So it's 48181.
Yes, 48181,
Okay.
right?
Right. Okay. Well, we got to take a quick break, and we will be right back with Miss All Community, Village, All World, Miss Ebony Elmore. We'll stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Mattered. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
Block time is available. Get yours. Call 313-868-6612. That's 313-868-6612. Executive producer R.J. Watkins. Program director Henry Tyler. 107.5 FM. WGPR HD3. RadioWeCanSee.com.
313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
And welcome back. And you are watching a very special edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin. with my very special guest, Miss Ebony Elmore. And before we took the break, Ebony, you were just giving us the information about the watch party and the location. So can you give that location, again, to the STEM building of Operation Refuge,
Yes,
please?
so Operation Refuge is hosting our watch party this year. The location is 27807 Carlisle Street in Inkster, Michigan. And we will have a red carpet evening themed event. We will have raffles. We'll have a membership drive. We have some wonderful MCs. You may know one personally. Mr. Darwin Griffin will be emceeing that night.
Oh, I wonder who that guy is, but okay.
That handsome fellow.
We'll see if we can find out who that guy is.
I'm telling you, that handsome fellow always shows up and show out, and he makes sure everyone has a good time. I wouldn't have it any other way. We also have a mistress of ceremony because, ladies rule the world. Duh. So we have Miss Gabrielle Worthy coming to be the mistress of ceremony to join
So
Darwin.
you are all world when it comes to River Rouge. Gabrielle Worthy is all world when it comes to the city of Ecorse.
To the city of Ecorse.
Okay.
I mean, Ecorse. Ecorse and Gabby go hand in hand. Gabrielle is a phenomenal activist and warrior in the city of Ecorse. She is always standing up and fighting for what's right and making sure that there is nothing that the city and the residents do not know.
And what is her committee that she chairs with NACP
Yeah,
Western
Gabrielle
County?
is over our Youth Works Committee. I love her committee because she really gets to have a hands-on approach to the youth and making sure that the importance of the NAACP is not dying with just the critical race theory and trying to get it out of the schools, but we're really embedding it really into the community, into the children in real time. So I love that about Gabrielle and her committee, that she's really making sure that the children are knowing what the NAACP does right now and how it impacts them in their life.
Because the children they're our legacy.
They are.
And we have to look at helping the village to raise our children. And that's one of the things that's really important because Gabby is a former city councilwoman
Yes, she is.
there in the city of Ecorse. And, and we're all quite proud of her as we are of you with all the things that you're doing. And now let's talk a little bit about your committee that you chair with NAACP Western Wayne County.
Yeah, so I chair the Environment and Climate Justice Committee. I literally started about 3 years ago, and that was my passion. That's what I came here for. This committee started in 2022, right after the pandemic, so it's really like a newer committee for NAACP. And I really went because that's my passion and that's where my work resides. Living in a community of River Rouge, I also have lived in 48217 and as well as Ecorse, Michigan. Those Tri-City communities are some of the most impacted, polluted communities in the United States, I feel. We are in a walking distance, I say a half to a mile away from 3 large corporate emitting, like high pollution emitting companies are surrounding us. If there is any time there should be a national disaster where any of the 3 are to have a leak or an explosion, we are literally fending for ourselves in those 3 communities. So I wanted to come and be a member of this committee just so I can raise that awareness, tell that story, and to get resolve for our community and to make sure that, we are not feeling alone or desolate into like isolation because of where we live.
And what are those 3 communities?
That is the city of River Rouge, the city of Ecorse, and the city of 48217. I like to call Southwest Detroit, the original Southwest Detroit.
And talk about, Ebony, when we were there in Boston a couple of years ago, for when you got up and talked about a resolution in front of the thousands of people that were there in Boston, and you got up and spoke as pertaining to a resolution to our Constitution within ACP.
Yeah, so I stood up and talked about a resolution that was passed for PFAS. It was to
What is PFAS?
So PFAS is these microorganisms that are like microscopic, you can't see, but they are in everything, especially a lot of plastic. So people don't understand that when they're drinking plastic bottled waters, the chemicals from that plastic is seeping into that actual water that you're drinking, and they're the chemicals that are seeping in there are PFAS, so they're microscopic. You will see them in those type of things. You will see them along the water, and you will see them in a lot of plastic materials that we use for every day, like detergents and things like that. Those chemicals over time are the leading cause, and one of the leading causes of cancer and other ailments that we as Black people are facing that pretty much goes unnoticed or untreated.
So is that one of the reasons why, just like when people have bottled water at their homes, that like if there may be an expiration date or something, on the bottle, is that the purpose of that? Because a lot of people don't think about that. They keep bottled water for months, on the shelf and the refrigerator and that kind of thing. So those chemicals in the plastic could leak out into the water, and then you're saying that once you drink that water, then you are subject to the carcinogens that's in that water that could cause and could lead to a person getting cancer from that.
Yes, you are correct. So when we were in Boston, they were passing a resolution that didn't include it, and at that time it was just being talked about. So I wanted to make sure that it was uplifted and included, because in a lot of marginalized communities or a lot of Black populated communities, those are some of the leading causes of our death and longevity. That's why we're losing our lives a lot sooner. It's because of a lot of cancer and a lot of respiratory issues, and those are the chemicals that are in those things that make us sick. So I just wanted to make sure that was definitely something that our NAACP was fighting for and had on their radar.
Now, is that something you do? Because I know you're also a proud member of the Sierra Club, correct?
Yes.
Talk about the Sierra Club. What is the Sierra Club?
Yeah, so Sierra Club is my pride and joy. That's where I got started. I want to shout out Miss Rhonda Anderson. She was a pivotal organizer in that organization that really came to our communities, the Tri-City communities, and educated us on our rights, what was going on, and how we can make a change for it. So since then, I started I'm not going to share my age, but about 15 years ago. And 15 years ago, I was sitting on my porch. I was planning my It Takes a Village backpack giveaway, and it was just me and all my large family. And Miss Anderson came with a friend of mine and told me that not only what I was doing was just giving out backpacks, but that was organizing. That was community organizing. You're lifting up the stories of the people, and I could show you where you could take that to make a change. And it's the Sierra Club that really meets us where we're at in our communities and really protects us and advocates for us, but also put us in places where we may not be seen or heard, but we're being talked about. So that's one thing I do love about the Sierra Club. I currently sit on their executive committee 15 years later, and I'm very much advocating and sitting there to make sure that they don't leave Black folks behind.
So when you talk about the Sierra Club, they have Sierra Club branches or all over the entire United States?
Yeah, so the Sierra Club is very, very similar to the NAACP. Like, they have their national chapter that's been around for years, and then they have like local chapters. So we have Michigan state chapter, and under Michigan state chapter, under like based on different issues that they advocate for, they will disperse certain local chapters in different areas. So we have a state office off of Cass in Detroit, and then we have our local group, which is called Southeast Michigan Group, and that is more so servicing our areas that we are in, and they advocate for the same things like clean energy, climate change, and things like that.
So let me ask you too, because I know since you're in the River Rouge area, just real quick, let's talk about the impact that this new Gordie Howe Bridge is going to have. Because in your community, in that area, where you're at, because I know that there's a lot of people that are excited to see a second bridge, come up. And I know that there's a lot of people that are a little concerned because, President Trump has kind of threatened to delay the opening
Yes.
for the bridge. And I know there was a lot of people that were concerned about, whether or not if they would be able to take that trip across the bridge, because I know I had said that I wasn't going to be the first one to go across the bridge, but I do look forward to, going across that bridge and all of the time. And I thought in my lifetime I would never see a second bridge. I've always been accustomed to the Ambassador Bridge. Just like when I come into, back into Detroit from Ohio, where I've got relatives at, we see those big, look like the balls right there at Schaefer and 75. And I used to wonder when I was a kid, what they were. And I'd see them sometimes, they look like a great big baseball, sometimes look like a great big basketball. And you see when you cross that little bridge right there going towards downtown Detroit, and you cross that bridge once you pass, Schaefer, you see all of the factories and see all of the towers and, and those kind of things. So a lot of those towers, they're emitting a lot of smoke, and so how does that affect? I know you talked about the PFAS when it comes down to the plastics, but what is it that happens when that smoke emits those the chemicals from the smoke where they're burning coal or burning other fuels? What is that I know it affects people's lungs, but what other effects does it have on people that may breathe in all those, all that smoke that's right there with those smokestacks and stuff, right?
Yeah, so the number one is your lungs and other respiratory issues. It also brings upon high rates of cancer, as I mentioned before. If you look at the rate of children having asthma, it really exacerbates them, and it leads to higher rates of absenteeism in school. It also leads to like low birth weights or birth defects in women that are pregnant and your reproductive health. In men, I've seen stages of lung cancer and other forms of cancer, prostate cancer being increased due to the environment. My stepdad used to work at Zug Island. He all my life he retired from Zug Island. And
what is Zug Island?
So Zug Island, when I grew up, was called Zug Island, but it's now EES Coke, and it's a it's a child company of DTE Energy. So it sits off of Jefferson. If you ever go, past that 75 and you get off and you kind of like get redirected, they take you to the back towards Jefferson. That big black plant is EES Coke. So that's a coal-powered company. And with him working there for so long, he never smoked a day in his life. But when he retired, he had stage 4 cancer and ultimately met his demise from that. But it was just from living day to day, being in that environment. That's why it's very important for union workers or people that work at these type of factories to advocate for themselves and to make sure they have proper health benefits and getting proper health checkups so that you can have a report of the trajectory of the long-term damage that these companies are having on your life. So that, you know, when you are retired, you don't just lose your life. You know, you really can live your life afterwards. So, yeah, those plants are very detrimental. And to compound that and the series of trucks and the increase of truck traffic that we're going to get from the Gordie Howe Bridge is going to lead to a cumulative impact to our livelihood that we may have a decrease in our populations from Ecorse, River Rouge, and Southwest Detroit in the coming years if we're not careful.
Wow. Wow. So when you're looking at the residents there, how do the residents feel? Because I know you've done some community meetings and been
Yes.
involved in some community meetings, you know, with the residents there in that, you know, area. What do you talk about? What do you tell, or what are some of the comments that a lot of the residents are feeling, you know, about the environment, about the PFAS when it comes down to, because, you know, that's one thing too, is that a lot of people litter, especially the oceans out there in California and on the East Coast. And, you know, there is a pile of plastics in the Pacific Ocean that's almost about the size of the state of Rhode Island that just floats right there on the ocean and stuff. But, you know, when you see people that litter and then they throw stuff into the water, and that's the concern that I know I would have, you know, because I know I've drank water. I thought it was the water back in the day until I, you know, was educated by Ebony Elmore to know about the chemicals that leak out into the plastic. But I thought it was the water because the water tasted a little funny. So are a lot more people down there in the area? Are they getting filtrated water, or are they putting more filters on their faucets or on their sinks, or are they, you know, because Detroit River has a lot of pollutants in the river, but the filtration system that Detroit has to take all of the impurities out of the water is so phenomenal, because we got some of the best drinking water in the city of Detroit, and that's why so many other communities outside of Detroit want our water, because that's what led to the whole thing with the Flint water crisis.
Yeah.
Was that they decided they didn't want to utilize the Detroit water and wanted to do something from the Flint River, and then that caused all of the, you know, health challenges that a lot of the residents had, you know, in the city, you know, in the city of Flint. So that's another concern, you know, that people would have at the same time. But is there anything else? Because I know when we come back from break, I know I definitely want to talk about what you're doing with Southeast Michigan, Jobs with Justice.
Okay.
But is there anything, Ebony, that you think that you need to tell people in the Southwest community, in Ecorse, in River Rouge, that they should do to avoid being, you know, susceptible to some of those pollutants, the PFAS, you know? What do you advise people in those areas to do?
Yeah, so from all community input, I'm hearing a vast range of concern for their drinking water. And as of right now, there's I'm not sure if it's federal, but I'm sure it's a statewide mandate for a lot of everybody to change their water infrastructure. So all of the pipes are supposed to be fixed. So a lot of people are experiencing a lot of water issues due to the cities are like going to abide by that mandate and trying to work to fix those pipes and those infrastructure systems. So
What is it in the pipes? Just
so what
pause it.
is happening with the pipes is just is in comparison to the DTE infrastructure. It's all dated, it's all old, and it no longer can manage the capacity of what it used to, because it's all outdated and old. So everything needs to be updated. But in the meantime, it costs money to update. And unfortunately, the feds ain't giving local people money to mandate it, or to the state, or in the state who has the funding is not really giving the funding to the actual communities that are needed for it. They're giving them to more larger communities or more larger cities. So the local cities and the smaller cities are now succumbing to how do they find these funds to fix these infrastructure issues, as well as still maintain answering the questions of the people. The people want to know why my water stank, why it's not coming out properly, I can't take a shower, why am I constantly getting these letters in the mail talking about the water, or why am I looking at my bill and my bill is triple the cost that it was in years. So the cities are now trying to fend for themselves when they really need states to really trickle down that money so they can fix it. I would tell residents and citizens right now to constantly go to if you can, make it to your city council meetings. Always make sure if there's an issue with your water, you are calling your DPW system and then immediately calling your mayor, so that they'll be in tangent and know that the issues are going on in your area so that they can fix it. Just in the city of River Rouge, we stay on a street that just had a water main break yesterday. And what we did was we immediately called the mayor and the DPW, and we got it fixed immediately. But they also told us to make sure we're calling the water department so they know. So I say for residents to always make sure you're asking what protocol to take, so that you're doing it the proper way, so that you can get your service done in a timely manner. Because a lot of times people just go assuming that the city knows or your mayor knows, and they have no clue.
So how is DTE taking any kind of responsibility on any of the things that's going on in your city?
DTE, let me try the correct way. DTE takes accountability for themselves,
Okay.
which is not a lot. They would rather put money in politics' pockets than actually update the systems how we need them to be and pay the community what they destroyed a lot of times. If you drive down that 75 freeway that you were just mentioning, and to the left towards Dearborn, the smoke is still brewing and growing. But if you look towards the right, towards the city of River Rouge, there's literally smoke not there that used to be there. And that is because DTE plant is closed in the city of River Rouge, thanks to the Sierra Club and the work that the organizers has been doing to that fight, Ms. Anderson, Teresa Landrum, Dr. Leonard, and things like that, and Vicki Dobbins doing the work to get that done. As well as myself. I always say I was a baby organizer in the day, so I was just going with them. But I still had a hand on it, and I feel like it's that work that we as people can see a result in and be proud of. But then what do you do after the smoke is gone? How are DTEs going to hold themselves accountable? Are they going to remediate the soil? Are they going to pay to remediate the soil that they contaminated? Are they going to pay to fix the water that has now their chemicals and things done seeped into the water? Mm-hmm. How are they going to preserve the quality of life of the people that they're destroying?
Because that was a concern that I had, because, I mean, like you said, it seeps into the soil. Mm-hmm. So does that make bad for growing?
It does.
Any crops, anything?
It does. It's hard to grow. It's hard for economic development.
Right.
If you think of contaminated soil, can you put a house on it? Can you put pipes in so you can get some clean water?
Would you feel comfortable kids playing?
I was just going to say that.
Right.
How do you feel comfortable about your kids playing on there? You don't.
And then kids, a lot of times, they'll go and they'll, back in the day, we used to make mud pies, and you know,
Exactly.
folks would kind of like, you know, eat dirt and that kind of a thing. And then there's some communities, you know, depending on what state you're in, that the red clay that
Yep.
people, you know, in Georgia that they eat, you know, a lot of times. So, but that makes it difficult, like you're saying, because you got to make sure that if you out there playing in the, you know, in the dirt, you got to wash your hands real. And then now you got the contaminant from the water. So it's
Yeah.
like you almost like in a losing battle with, you know, the contaminated soil, the polluted water, and you know, it's almost like, what do? You know, you almost dogged if you do, dogged if you don't, with something like that.
Yeah.
But
So that's
know.
why it's so important to use your voice, not only at the city level, but also with the Michigan Public Service Commission, who approve all of these permits for folks like DTE and other companies to continue doing this to us.
well, it's good to have fighters like you and Teresa Landrum and others, you know, in the community to be that watch guard to make sure that folks don't continue doing some of the things that they're doing that could affect a lot of the residents, you know, in that area. Well, we got to take another break, Ebony, and when we come right back, we'll talk a little bit about another organization, Southeast Michigan Jobs with Justice, that you're also, you know, involved with as well.
Yes,
so
thank
we're going to
you.
give a shout out to Kay Halonen and to Sam Stark.
Yes.
But we'll be right back. So stay tuned.
The best of the New Dance Show is sponsored by Bugali Leather, located at 17321 East 8 Mile Road at Kelly and East Point. For more information, call 586-552-7570.
And you thought that was the end.
The biggest leather and fur sale is happening now at Bugali Leather, where luxury meets craftsmanship. From sleek men's jackets to elegant ladies' furs, you're gonna love everything at Bugali Leather. Every piece is made to impress, perfectly fit, timeless design. And right now, get 50% off. Yes, 50% off the entire store, including mink, fox fur, and premium leather for men and ladies. Direct from the manufacturer, no middleman. Only at Bugali Leather. Unmatched quality and unbeatable prices at 8 Mile and Kelly and East Point.
Hi, Rachel.
Hey, how are you?
Good and you?
Good.
What's your vision for Cash Talk?
Oh, that's a great question. My vision for Cash Talks is bringing real life reality stories, business, entrepreneurship, self-care, real life journeys to life so that people can get an experience and hear stories that's relatable. So my vision is to create that environment so that I can bring guests on the show for that Cash Talks experience.
So what does the future look like for Cash Talk?
Good question. So 2026 and beyond, my team and I are creating a dynamic empire for Cash Talks. Cash Talks is moving to the next level. That next level is beyond a podcast. We're going and taking it to, creating a talk show. We're moving beyond podcasts. So we're going to do something more dynamic starting this year.
Distributed by R.J. Watkins Studios.
313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
107.5 FM, WGPR HD3.
Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we have a very, very special guest here in the studio, Miss Ebony Elmore. But one thing that I want to let people know that the best way to watch this show live is to go using your internet browser, and you can go on and watch it through 313watkins.com. So that way you can make certain that you don't miss a word of what Ms. Ebony Elmore is disseminating out about everything that she talks about. And Ebony, I know before we went to break, I know we had talked a little bit about with DTE's involvement, but I'm gonna just give you one little quick, chance to talk just real quick about the data centers and, just what is the impact. And I know there's a lot of people that don't understand what the data centers are. Can you talk about what are data centers?
Yeah, so data centers are large storage facilities for our information. Everybody using data centers. If you use ChatGPT, if you have a phone and you were talking to your friends about what you wanted to eat or wear or drink or go that night, and then somehow miraculously you use your social media and that advertisement pop up, that's coming from a storage facility called a data center.
And I know that I saw everybody seem like they were getting into the kick when they wanted to do those memes that had themselves, the caricatures
Yes.
of themselves. And so that was ChatGPT that they would go in and type in the information, but that was still being utilized through the data centers. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So that's exactly, you're right.
So what is so the data centers, are they people for them, people against them? Talk about that.
It's a little bit of both. I unfortunately am against them. As an environmentalist, data centers take up large gallons of water from our beautiful Great Lakes. It's a attracting ground for us in Michigan that we have the Great Lakes, because a lot of companies are coming for that reason, that owns data centers. It also uses a lot of electricity. We already have these utility affordability issues already in our state. We have like these high peak rates and things going on right now due to electricity. And when a data center comes into your community, they're taking up the same amount of electricity of 400 houses. So why are we doing that? Who's going to pay for that? And now, due to this new administration and Trump, they're doing a lot of tax breaks, tax write-offs for these type of companies. So they could come in and they could set up shop, and then they can spike all your electricity rates up in the community, and then they don't got to pay taxes on it. So with that increase, who's left to pay the taxes on that usage? So that's why I'm against them. Being in stakeholder committees, sitting at the tables with a lot of economic development corporations, I'm seeing a lot of cities being an advocate for it, or a lot of leadership wanting it because it brings revenue into the city. But you got to think of the long-term care of it all, and what is the care and outcome of your city. If we're already suffering from water issues and high water bills or contaminants, and then also depreciating water infrastructure and your pipes. Then we have a high rate of asthma due to all the pollution that is coming around. High truck traffic. You just idle your car and you're emitting air pollution. So on top of all of these things, we already have this fight against these. Now you want to bring data centers in our community? It's not a winning situation until we all come together and say no together. And not just no as residents, but no as residents, as grassroots organizations, as big green corporations, as local government, state government. We all have to at some point come together. That's why it will be very hands-on approach to move legislation to start protecting us from data centers. Currently, the Sierra Club has a petition out to sign for a pause on bringing in data centers right now until we can get those type of legislations in place. And
So when you mentioned about Big Green, what is that?
So a Big Green organization is organizations like Sierra Club.
Okay.
Bigger Green, like the national organizations that kind of trickle down from state and local. In environmental justice world, we call them Big Green corporations. So say you have the Sierra Club, who has this national recognition, who can bring national attention. But then you have a grassroots organization, say Solidarity, that is a lot smaller, but still have the same impact in the community. If they both was to take a stand on the same thing and collaborate, we can bring better progress.
Okay. So let's flip gears for a minute. So now you're also on the convening board with me.
Yes.
With an organization called Southeast Michigan Jobs with Justice. What is Southeast Michigan Jobs with Justice, and what is their objectives that they have in the community that they represent? Because they represent several different cities in Southeast Michigan. So talk about what they do.
Yeah, so the Southeast Michigan Jobs with Justice is a more smaller organization to like the Big Green sort of say organization because it's a national organization, Jobs with Justice. They come and they support and advocate for union workers and make sure they're safeguarded and educated and supported on their when they're trying to make policy changes. So if you see folks out having strikes and those families that are like out of funds for the time that they're striking, Southeast Michigan Jobs with Justice is a resource hub to provide those families with like food or supportive care while they're striking and holding up things. They also come into union Legion halls and educate union workers on the right to fair equality. So they have a wonderful, wonderful workshop called Runway to Inequality. They have a number of fantastic facilitators like Darwin Griffin and Ashley Lewis that comes out and really get to the meat and bones of the solutions that we face. They take people from the Republican side and people from the Democratic side. We put them together and we talk about what things that are holding us back and how we can get clear solutions that everybody can advocate for.
And these are solutions that are common ground.
Yes,
and
common
that's
ground.
the important part, because I know when myself, with Ashley, with Mike Schulte, Jerry King, when we go out, Laura Dewey, when we do these, we make certain that everybody, is nonpartisan because it can affect us all. And that's one of the things that we try and do, because in addition to what you were saying about helping those striking workers in the home front, we also get out there and go and help them on the striking front. Because a lot of times when they're out there striking, I've gone out to places where they were striking with UAW and brought those Duralogs so that they could put them in those 55-gallon drum barrels when they were trying to keep warm and, have the fires going. And then we've also taken bottled water, we've taken granola bars and other little snacks, and we've also provided them with the little hand warmers and the foot warmers, while they out there striking in frigid temperatures. We out there making certain that they could, and we give them a little relief. So we're kind of like the little backup.
Yeah.
The folks that were on the bench that are asked to kind of get off the bench and help, with the regulars, with the starting lineup. So we help them, in addition to them and what they do. So with those runaway inequality workshops that we give. And one thing too, Ebony, if you can give the information, if somebody is interested, maybe like in hosting one of the runaway inequality workshops, how can they get in contact with you or contact with Sam Stark or Kay Halonen or others with our group?
Yeah, so we have a Facebook page, and you can find us on Facebook at Southeast Michigan Jobs with Justice. We are also hosting our first in-person meeting. It will be going on Saturday, March the 28th from 10:30 to 2.
Is it the 28th or the 21st?
Hold on. I lied. It is February 21st.
Okay. And it's going to be held at the local, CWA local.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
West
CWA local 4009. The address to that location is 17233 West 10 Mile Road in Southfield, Michigan 48705. And you can also find all that information on our Facebook page. Like if you want to know anything firsthand real fast, go to our Facebook page. We keep everything updated on that.
And what time does the meeting start?
The meeting will start at 10. We're going to get started with the talking point about 10:30. It is potluck style, so we invite you to bring that good food that you can create. And we're going to share, we're going to fellowship, and we're going to talk about our plans for this year.
So people can get a chance to meet me in two places. They can meet me at the watch party.
Yes.
And then I've also facilitated some of those meetings, before that we do with Southeast Michigan Jobs with Justice. So, and it's been interesting because I've met a lot of people through, the networking that we've done, with those, those meetings. And it's some good dialogue. And it's all different organizations that come together.
It is. It's not just the union workers. I come from my background, and I find home in there. I find rest. I find camaraderie, because I feel like in these times, no one organization or one force should be fighting their fight alone. I feel like we can all see ourselves in each issue and come together, and that's how we make changes.
Yeah, because I think that, like you're saying, that there's the union representation, but there's also, as you said, activist groups, organizations, Mothers in Justice, the postal workers, the hospital workers. We've done a lot of work when it comes down to D15 with the fight for 15.
Yep.
And we've done a lot when it comes to that, and making certain that people received a fair wage and an equitable wage. And then especially we were assisting a lot of people after that pandemic hit. And a lot of people were losing their jobs, or people weren't going into work because they were afraid about the COVID-19, the virus, and things that was going on. And how did you get through the pandemic? How did Ebony Elmore and her family, how did you get through it?
I got through the pandemic. The funny thing about the pandemic is I was in college, and I went on a cruise before the pandemic happened to celebrate, my college graduacy. And that's when that following March, they shut us down and put us in quarantine. And I just got off the boat, and I was just very nervous because I was on the cruise ship that whole time and thinking I might have caught COVID. And come to find out, I had walking COVID, so I had no symptoms, but I had COVID. So I had to quarantine, and it was just the most stir-craziest time of my life because I didn't have symptoms, and if you can't tell, I am a on-the-go girl. I go. To sit still, I don't know what to do with myself. So I had to quarantine and sit still. So I just really found time to create things. I whipped back out. I have a Cricut, so I went back out and started crafting again. I explored a relationship at that time, and I was always with my family. And but we did it. We're so close knit. We did it through virtual.
And also did it through a lot of prayer.
And a lot of prayer.
That was
so,
really the main thing.
Oh my goodness, when I had COVID, me and the Lord was like this, because I'm like, Lord, you got jokes, don't you, to put me in COVID with no symptoms and I feel fine.
Well, he was our resiliency and our camaraderie and our faith was really being tested.
Yes, it was.
But Ebony, we've got another young man that's going to be joining us on the line.
Oh, excellent.
This because everybody realizes this is Black History Month, and we wanted to talk to a pastor who lived through those days and went through when we had a lot of the issues that happened during the 67, some people call it riot, some people call it rebellion, but a lot of people knew it to be like Paradise Valley.
Okay.
A lot of people knew it to be Hastings Street. A lot of people knew it to be Black Bottom. But we are joined by Pastor Edwin Lindsay. And Pastor Lindsay, are you on the line with us?
Yes, I am.
Well, Pastor, I just wanted to ask you, tell a little bit about who you are and what you do, and we'll kind of dig a little bit more into what happened during that time, with the 67 rebellion or riot that some people call it. But tell, who is Pastor Edwin Lindsay?
I am a pastor, title-wise, but that doesn't mean much to me because everybody that's in leadership in the body of Christ is a servant. But one time it was Apostle Lindsay. I'm employed at the Detroit Rescue Mission. And I've been there off and on for about 37 years. And I've worked with the homeless, disenfranchised, they have minor mental illness, and both men and women. We have 7 men in the program. But that's my job on the sideline. But ministry is my job all day long. I am one of the lead servants of Becker's Church International. I do, whatever I do with lead servants after the time. I'm on the board of directors there. But what I really want to get into, what all I do is I really want to get into the history of the riot as me being one that was actually out there from beginning to end, so to speak. And I continue.
So when you talk about the riot or the rebellion, there's a lot of people that have their conception about how they thought the riot started. What is the understanding that you have, Pastor Lindsay, as to what precipitated the riot back in '67?
At that time, I was 19, pastor around 20, and I used to have a very good relationship with the lady of the night. I put it that way locally. I listen to what I'm saying.
When you say the ladies of the night, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so I used to tell them pills that would keep them up all night long while they would take care of their other business. And the night of the riot, as we know it, or the leading is the mayor, with the rebellion, either way it goes, it was a bomb that had already been made because of what we call stress police officers who mainly harassed the black people in the city of Detroit. And then they were all basically all of them were white. And this particular night, it had to be a fuse in my mind to set the riot off. Most of the history that's been told was told about the Brown Pig rally, and then after that, the lady and and that's it. But what happened was, what really happened that night, and then I was there, on the corner of Hazelwood and 12th Street. A young lady was murdered in my mind. She was shot by one who I remember being a part of that struck officers party that coming against black people, period. And he got mad because he didn't see it because I was coming around the corner. And this was never mentioned during the ride. For some reason, it was never mentioned. What really started Hazelwood is only about to stay away from Claremont and 12th. And on the other side of that is basically a mini deal was there. When you cross Claremont heading towards West End Boulevard, the further you go back, the Heinrich and the Sears Center and in different parts and and so forth, heading toward West End Boulevard, that's where all the bars and things are. Well, the reason that it was only a few people that shot or had that seemed to be death of that shooting on the young lady was on the other end of Hazelwood. And everybody was pretty much in the bars. The bars were open, but they were filled, and wasn't anybody particularly out on the street. It was just before the bars closed. So you figure around about 2 o'clock at night, the bars were about to close. And this young lady, when she got shot, the distress officer walked over to his car, got in the car, and drove off. Now, this girl died on the stairwell of what we call a place upstairs in that stairwell was where the young ladies go and take their dates, if you was going to say that. And downstairs was a record shop, and the name of that record shop was Badfoot Tommy. He was the proprietor of the record shop, as well as the rooms that the girls would rent to take care of their so-called business. But back to the street. When this happened, the police came, and they, quite naturally, they was removing the body off the stairs, and where the young girl died at, and while they were doing that, the bars were being let out, and so the people came out and saw all these police cars. So they're thinking the dress, which it per se it really was, but they didn't know what had transpired other than the fact that this girl got shot and was deceased. And so the anger was brewing big time at that point. Now, during that time, they hurried up and moved the body off the stairs. Then the Blind Pig was supposed to be raided probably anyway. And I don't think this is my opinion. I'm not a police officer, so I don't know. But I have the strongest feeling that they weren't communicating that night, as it relates to that situation that I'm talking about, and the raid, which I think was pre-planned on the Blind Pig. So by that happening, people were already out there because the first place they went into to start the looting was a pawn shop. And at that point, when the police came, well, quite naturally, they stopped the looting, and the next thing you know, people are down here by the paddy wagon at the Blind Pig, which is across Claremont. And so that's where the history starts talking about, the Blind Pig and people, with looting and what have you. They wasn't doing it at that particular time. They had focused on the Blind Pig and paddy wagon pulling up to the door, bringing people down the stairs. Yeah. All right, now I'm in the crowd, but I'm still somewhat, kind of blew my mind because I saw this, and that's not something you really want to see.
So
Even
you were out
though,
there, you were out there, Pastor Lindsay, in the crowd with all those folks
the
that were
crowd.
doing that were running up and down
Yes.
the street, that were
Yes. I never
breaking
left.
out the windows and looting the stores, and you were watching a lot of this going on.
Yes, that's it. So once they raised the blind pig, then the mass of people began to start looting. There was a drugstore in the corner there. There was what we considered to be a clothing store that sold very fashionable clothes, and they just went from that corner right on back, going back toward West Grand Boulevard, and they didn't burn up the Chit Chat Lounge, which, if you go back for those that remember these days, the Chit Chat Lounge was well known for a lot of top Motown review folks coming through there, and so forth, well-known jazz players and so forth, black, that is, African American entertainers would come to the Chit Chat Lounge. All right, but they didn't burn that. They burned up all the little businesses down there because most of them was owned by Jews anyway.
Okay. Pastor Lindsay, we got to take a quick break, but I'm going to ask you too, if you've got your phone on speakerphone, if you can talk directly into the phone so that we can make sure we don't want to miss a word of what you're saying. So stay tuned. We got to take a 5-minute break. So when we come right back, we're going to be back listening to what Pastor Lindsay is saying and living through his eyes and his experiences during that 67 riot that occurred here in the city of Detroit. So again, you're watching Truth to Power. We'll be right back with my co-host, Ebony Elmore, and Pastor Edwin Lindsay. So stay tuned.
Good morning. Today's a beautiful day, and today's not only a beautiful day because we're here in Inkster, but it's a beautiful day because I'm here with Pastor Gene Overman. I have the pleasure to serve on Operation Refuge as a board of director. This organization not only serves Inkster, but the neighborhood communities. I mean, the work we do here is beyond. It's led by Pastor Gene Overman. I've known Pastor Gene Overman for over 10 years. Everybody claims that that's her son, this is that. I mean, we go way back. She's mentored me. She's helped me throughout my career. I love you, Pastor. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on today?
Well, we're so excited, and thank you, Safe, for bringing a team in to really help us get the word out. Today we're doing our food that we do consistently every Wednesday and Thursday throughout the month, and just very excited to share with everyone listening that Operation Refuge has Mother's Pantry. It is a client choice food pantry that we are very thankful that you come in here and it's a place of dignity. You shop just like you're at Trader Joe's, hopefully, or one of the better grocery stores. So we're on the main strip because we want our families to leave those houses if you have a need and come over. And that's whether you're here, Dearborn Heights, Garden City, all of our surrounding communities in Southeast Michigan, Wayne County actually, we really serve great food. And we have lots of programs. But today we're here talking about Mother's Pantry, and you get the chance to see some of the interactivity at Mother's Pantry with our families. And sometimes there's a great need, and sometimes you find yourself the working underemployed. So we have lots of Alice families where you're right at that threshold where you cannot receive benefits, but you still need that support. So we're very thankful that through many partnerships with Operation Refuge, we are able to provide good, nutritious food.
What I love about our pantry is the fact that you can come in, park your car, and shop like you're walking into a grocery store. Yes. Nobody can tell you you can't take this or you can't take that. That's and right. That's a sense of pride. where you're not hurting anybody's feelings, and then I could walk in, get what I want, and leave. I mean, that's an amazing.
And you leave with your dignity, and oftentimes when we have food insecurity, you feel some sort of way to start with, right?
Absolutely.
So when you come in, we want to have the best choices.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we really do have excellent choices. We have halal, we have kosher, and we have partners that ensure that we keep what all of our families need.
Yeah.
So we're just very thankful.
It's your leadership and your vision. That's why, right?
And the board of directors, right?
Absolutely.
I can't get it done without you all. And as you see from the young man, you leave with fresh pineapple.
I love it.
Food,
I love it.
Right? And whether you're walking or you're able to drive up, our door is open for you.
And then the line, I can see the line.
Yeah,
I mean, when I
actually
pulled up, was all the it was all the way down to the STEM building. So it's amazing. It's a sunny day. Come to Inkster, folks. Thank you, Pastor. I love you.
313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
And we are back, and you are watching live Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and I'm joined on this journey by Miss Ebony Elmore. And we also have on the phone, we have Pastor Edwin Lindsay. And before we went to break, I know, Pastor, you were talking about what it was like then, you know, on the streets. And this was on 12th Street, correct?
Correct.
And this is 12th Street near Claremont, Hazelwood, right up in that area. And I know I had an aunt that lived right there on Pingree, and I know what she was going through, because there was a lot of people that knew each other, and you had a lot of businesses that had provided services for people all these years, and now here they're seeing on TV the actual footage of what was going on, and they're racing from their homes trying to go down there to board up or protect their businesses.
Yes. You're right.
And that's the thing that made it so bad, because they're looking into the faces of people they sold produce to, they sold goods to, they pawned their TVs with, and you know, or their radios and that kind of thing. And now here they're going back in there and taking things instead of paying for them and running down the street. And folks was like, man, did you see so-and-so? Did you know, and a lot of people, they didn't have the cameras like we have today, the cell phones, to be able to take pictures of, you know, you had to actually take those video, you know, footage usually from the media to see everything that was going on. But what was going on through your head when you were seeing friends, relatives running up and down the street, and they could have gotten killed, you know, because the National Guard was out there, correct?
Yes. Well, at that particular time, the National Guard had not showed up. And when doing what we call the rioting or looting, is that what we want to label it, during the heat of that, you know, it was like you said, it was total chaos. People was running everywhere, going into every place, and like you said, there were businesses that was owned by blacks as well as, I believe, Jewish, and you know, it was a multitude there that had businesses, and mainly were black though, and people were running in and grabbing what they could, and then suddenly there was a desire to want to set things on fire. Can you hear me?
Yeah, to set things on fire.
To set things on fire. Again, that was promoted. I won't get into the name calling, but for what history you do have, you should know. It was instigated. And so folks was running into those businesses, grabbing what they could, coming out. But there was some, and this is the part that it took me a while to overcome. over the years of being actually there on the spot and seeing things like I did. And there were some who were going down into the lower level, meaning the basement of those places, thinking they're getting the best of the goods. And while numerous, telling how many people that were on the main level, not thinking about those who were in the basement. And soon as the ones that were seeable were able to come out of the stores or what was left in the stores, then they would set on fire. Now, that fire was spread, immediately, because most of the things in there were clothes and things of that nature. So they, with gasoline or kerosene or whatever they put down there, would actually burn fast. So that means people were trapped. Nobody never said nothing about that. So I'm sure what I was out in my mind, at least for me, that a lot of those folks did not make it out.
So you said there were a lot of people that were trapped. So when people would firebomb the businesses and throw those Molotov cocktails into the business, into the windows, they were burning the buildings up, but then they didn't realize there were people that were in the basement that couldn't get out. And so some of them
they weren't even aware of what was going on, such as the fire upstairs on the main level. And you said, well, they got a back door down there. You got to understand, unless you lived during that time and you would go through the alleyway, they did have a back door. Those back doors would have concrete steps that lead down to that door, to that exit door in the basement. And they had actual bars, real bars on there, not I know that little stuff you maybe hear, demons iron when you're on strength. They had real bars down there and locks that was, practically, you just needed the key.
But so they couldn't get out. They were trapped down there. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And see, that's what I'm saying. Everybody was so busy talking about the riot. People literally lost their lives that night. Or that, should I say, it's actually, by that time, it's actually July 23rd.
So you said that was July 23rd when this occurred?
Yes.
Okay.
Because at that time, because at that time, when the bars were out, that was after 2, that was 2 o'clock or a little later. So this is when all this transpired. So it's actually into the next day, it just wasn't daylight.
So did you have any friends and people that you knew that may have gotten killed as a result of some of these fires that were set, or just people that might have been trampled, and all of the people that were trying to run up and down the street to get away or to try and do something?
Now that you mention that, I never really thought about it, and particularly not in the sense of saying I lost anything. I didn't really hear nobody that I know that was trapped, because you had, people from everywhere that came there. There were some folks who lived on the block, maybe between 12th and 14th, and you had Woodrow, you had on the other side, I think, with 12th and Woodrow Wilson on the other side.
So that's where my aunt lived. She lived right there on Pingree between 12th and Woodrow Wilson. And then I think a lot of other people live between 12th and 14th.
Yeah, exactly.
12th and going up there towards LaSalle, up in that area.
Right.
And then Linwood as well, because people were, everybody was coming out trying to see what was going on.
Pastor Lindsay, how did you make it through there with all that violence going on?
God.
Amen.
I got to sit up and tell you it was my street work, because I have some guys going to out there. I said it immediately, but the truth, only God. And because the next day I got staff. I had my oldest son, mom, was 9 months pregnant, and I'm gonna tell you about, like I lived on Pingree, with my oldest son's mother and her sister and her husband, and so we all lived in the same house on Pingree between Linwood and LaSalle. So this is the next day, and I had, took so much stuff out of the stores. So
you were taking so much stuff out the stores?
Mm-hmm.
So did you have was it something in particular that you wanted to get, or because a lot of people had ideas? Because I was looking at.
I did. I went to Westminster, on Westminster and Woodward, and Westminster and Woodward was called Annie First used to. They had a huge window dealing of meat coats of all kinds.
So seeing you actually taking some of the items.
Pardon me?
You say seeing you actually taking some of the items.
No, they didn't see me.
I wouldn't let them see me either.
At that time it was still night.
So it was night. They couldn't see you then.
No.
Okay.
A friend of mine went and stole a car. I'm one of the best guy in town, so I'm sure I really hasn't. I stole a car and drove it through the glass window. And I'll never forget it. It was a Riviera. We had a big old sheet that was got out of the house. Yeah, all this is happening that night of.
Okay.
And then they would rack the meat coats and meat jackets and things like that. So we just grabbed as many as we could, tied them up, in this big old sheet and put it in the trunk and carried it back to the house.
Wow.
And so that was the extent of my so-called looting, because the other stuff didn't amount to what I thought. When the variety was over with, I was going to have to sell.
You said you were going to have a sale.
You would
I was going to have a sale. Yeah. And so I'm at home the next day, and like I said, my oldest son's mom was 9 months pregnant. And so I decided to go up on Linwood and Pingree, and there was a 5 and 10 cent store right there on the corner. And they used to have those wire masks and waste cans on the corner back in those days.
Okay.
Yeah, they were real hard alloy, sort of a wiry waste baskets of the wood that would be sitting on the corner there and what have you. So I picked up one of those, threw it through the glass window under the influence of alcohol, which that was the first and the last time I drank, because I don't drink, and I didn't drink even then. I don't know what made me do that. But anyway, there was a U.S. liquor store where they sell all kinds of liquor. My brother-in-law, my play brother, I call him my brother-in-law, but he wasn't my brother-in-law. We just had two sisters that we used to. He was actually married to his. I wasn't to mine. And he had got some liquor out of the U.S. liquor store, brought it home, and so I had a nerve to say, well, let me try some of that. And I don't know why I did that, because I wasn't in my right mind to even go down there. I said, I'm going down to this corner and get me some baby clothes. Out the 5 and 10 cent store. Can you imagine that? I went down there and got stabbed.
You say you got stabbed?
Yes. Remember I told you I got stabbed?
Right.
Yeah, that's true. I carried the knife wound still to this day. it's, you know, she she waited for me to throw the mass screen type of waste basket through the window at the 5 and 10 cent store. I climbed in there. There was an old cash register because I wound up on the other side where the cashier was supposed to be at, instead of the door coming into the 5 and 10 cent store. Okay. I just climbed through the window, and that put me behind where the register was at.
Okay.
And where the cashier would be. So I go there. There's an old cash, machine there. And
those old cash registers to show the numbers.
When I say old, all you have to do is hit the sale button. And
it'll pop open. Yep.
So I'm high. I can't see. Man, the more I talk about this, the stupider I feel. Anyway, there was what I thought was a $50 bill, because I'm seeing triples and everything here under the influence of this Don Q. Out of all the liquor to drink, too, as a beginner, I had a nerve to take a couple of sips of Don Q 151.
You say Don Q 150. That was kind of potent, wasn't it?
That was potent. What do you mean it's kind of potent?
It is.
So I'm seeing triples and everything, and all I remember was reaching in the drawer, and I felt somebody grab my hand, and I turned around, and this very, very heavy set lady in the back of me, and she got my hand. She got my hand locked. I just kind of like snatched it. What are you doing? And I turned my back to proceed to come around on the other side of the register. But when I got ready to go, I heard, and I thank God for him. The guy told you that supposed to be my brother-in-law, but he wasn't. I got one here. He said, "Look out, Ed, look out." And I'm about to turn, and all I remember is this lady coming down, and it was a box of pear knives that was on the counter there. A box of pear knives, and the pear knives was about 4 inches long, the blade.
Okay.
Yeah, and wooden handle was about maybe about as long as that. All I know was I felt something sliding down in my arm. I could actually feel the blade sliding deep down in my shoulder. It would have been my back if I hadn't turned, because he hollered and said, "Look out." And I just turned by reflexes. I was turning. And while she was coming down. And, I kind of blacked out on that lady. So I don't really care to go into that.
So when you say you blacked out?
I mean, I was so mad. Because all I could think of is, she's going to kill me for $20.
I'm gonna ask you to put your pastor's voice on, because I want to make sure we don't miss this. But when you in front of the.
I said she tried to. My thought was she tried to kill me for $20, and she left the blade was still sticking up in my arm. Wow. You remember the other night I was telling you the other day we were talking. I said I put on a white alpaca sweater.
Right.
I still had that sweater on. And that sweater was blood red because the blood started squirting out of my arm like a faucet. And that just, mentally, all I know is she's on the floor. And I put everything I could find in it on top of her.
I'm wondering, because I'm just thinking back, with the riot, and you said people were murdered, people were stuck in fires from firebombing, you were stabbed. Where did you guys go to get help? Like, was the...
I didn't, you know, when I came, you know, as I was about to tell you to come out, and I mean, you gotta, come on, man, let me take you home, man. And so,
So you went home? Was the hospitals available?
No, the hospitals were not available. Okay. There were so many people there. You fell out for like a mini prison.
Mm-hmm.
The hospitals were super jammed. They didn't, you know, so wherever you got medical attention, if you got any, you were blessed.
Okay.
What happened to me, you know, I didn't believe this stuff, but I'm here to tell you as a witness that how my arm, my shoulder got healed, and how they stopped the bleeding. I'm talking about my girl, Triz, my baby's mother.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she said that knife got to come out. You can't walk around with a knife. At that time, my arm was starting to stiffen up, and I knew it. You know, and so she said, "You might well take a few more drinks of this." And so I did, and it was that Don Chew. And next thing I remember, both of my girl's sister was heavy set. My girl's mom was heavy set. And guess where they were at? Sitting on the top of me. I thought they was... I couldn't breathe, Lester.
Oh, I can only imagine.
So they pulled that knife out. She pulled that Don Chew on it. I hollered. You probably could have heard me holler to me in New York City. But you know what? She wrapped it up, you know, found something, you know, on a white T-shirt or whatever. She made a strip, and they tied my arm up. Do you know it stopped it? That's how I've never been to the hospital. And you looked at my arm, you think it's a birthmark.
So how are you doing today? So you say it looks like a birthmark now?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But do you got full usage of your hands?
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah. I never had no problem.
God was awesome. Yeah.
You know, we talking about this, and then back with Central High School, where I graduated from, back in that area where my mom even stayed, you wouldn't even know it was a riot at all, because the National Guard, whatever they did their camping out on Central football field. Central High football field was where the Saints and so forth were, and the soldiers were bivouacking in. And so it was so quiet down there, you wouldn't even knew there was a riot in the city.
I got a question. This is my last question. What would you say? You said that they're pretty much erasing the history of that riot. What would you say to the survivors of the riot today?
Oh, what would I say to them? Well, I wouldn't do it again, I'll tell you that. And so I would say that to them, only God kept us alive.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, I do definitely want to say this. It took me a long time to talk about this the way I am now. If you listen to me talk now, you think I'm used to talking about it and, you know, and cracking jokes and all that. But no, I used to just, when I would come down Martin Luther King Drive there, it took me a while to get from West Grand Boulevard to Claremont without having to pull over and literally cry in my own way. Tears rolling down my eyes because I just know that that people that got burned up in those basements. Nobody, it was all about what, some mother, some dad, some brother or sister didn't see their loved ones come back that night, and nobody really probably took the time to even say they're deceased. After time only let them know that, because they hadn't heard from them since that night.
Yeah, Pastor, that time was so, it was so traumatic for a lot of people. And I can understand what you're saying when it comes down to riding down 12th Street from the boulevard up to Claremont, and how that time it was nothing but businesses on both sides of the street. And there was a lot of, a lot of Jewish, a lot of white business, Polish, a lot of different business owners all up through there. And to look at it today and see some of the townhouses, see some of the, the other businesses that might be up in that little area where the rec center is at, Joseph P. Walker, the rec center, and how a lot has changed, from back then. And we're talking about, what, 60 years ago. And
we did no harm to ourselves. To the young lady just asked the question, what would you say? We got to stop harming ourselves and well as harming other individuals. But as a race of people called Black people, then there's a lot of suffering that we're familiar with from our ancestors from slavery time to right up until this very day. And to me, it was so senseless, even though I was very involved into it, to destroy my own community. I'll never, ever encourage anybody or try to tell anybody that was good. There was nothing good about that at all, for any reason.
Yeah.
And during that time, they also, since we're celebrating, African American Month, you notice all of our trees so-called got Elm's disease.
Yeah.
They didn't have Elm's disease. Elm's disease wasn't out, but that's it. What it was is that the helicopters could not keep up with those who were looting. And so they planned ahead and said, if ever this thing happened again, we're going to make sure we can track them, we can see them. So they cut down the tree in our communities.
Well, Pastor, we got to wrap up. We've got to close this show so that the next show can go on. But I do want to, ask you. We'd love to have you to come into the studio next time, and let's talk a little bit more about, what happened. And then also, I know we were going to talk a little bit about what, we're talking about Hastings Street, Black Bottom, Paradise Valley. But that's gonna be the topic for another show when we have you come back into the studio. But I want to say again, Pastor Lindsay, I do hope that that you have a very, very productive day. I know you had some other challenges that kept you from coming into the studio today, but I hope you get all those resolved. And I do want to say to you again, we look forward to having you come back on the show again. The lady that was asking you the questions, my co-host, her name is Miss Ebony Elmore. And I do want to thank Tim Smith for doing a phenomenal job with engineering this show today. But we want to close this out by saying, as you were saying, Pastor Lindsay, we want people to come together. And I don't want to start singing the song "Come Together" right now, but we want people to go and live in this village in peace and harmony. So again, Pastor Edwin Lindsay, Miss Ebony Elmore, my name is Darwin Griffin, and I am your host, and we will hope that you have a very, very productive remainder of this day, and have a
Yes,
great
have a
and peace and
blessing.
safer weekend.
All right.
Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.